What's up guys, Eli here, back for a DVD collection video. If you've never seen one of these, it's exactly like I do with my CD collection. I just grab 10 DVDs off the shelf in alphabetical order and just kind of show them, loosely talk about them if I have anything to say. It's just kind of my way of hanging out with you guys. I try and sneak these DVD videos in into the other stuff because they don't really get viewed very much at all, but I still enjoy doing them, and I know at least a couple of you guys enjoy them, so I'm going to keep them coming until, till I've shown them all. Starting off with Eaten Alive, 1976, directed by Tobe Hooper, obviously of the legendary Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I like this movie. It's not a favorite of mine. I do have this Dark Sky Films 2-disc set. It's pretty nice, I gotta say. I'm a big Texas Chainsaw Massacre fan, I will say. I'm a fan of Tobe Hooper, but I just feel like he's one of those directors who is known for something really, really great, and then a lot of kind of mediocre stuff. Like a handful of his movies, this definitely has that grimy Texas Chainsaw Massacre vibe to it, and I can appreciate that. I just don't think anything else about it is amazing. It's it's a nice sleazy 70s horror movie, but not quite the diehard classic that I think some people make it out to be. Next, from 1980, we have Eaten Alive, otherwise in Italy known as Mangiati Vivi. I probably didn't say that right. I can barely speak English as it is. Certainly not Italian. It was directed by Umberto Lenzi. Certainly not one of the more famous Italian directors. He was no Lamberto Bava or Dario Argento or anything like that. But he has done a number of Italian movies. Like he did Cannibal Ferox, which I guess is actually one of the better known cannibal movies. So Eaten Alive is no different. Kind of a Italian 70s 80s Italian cannibal movie. I haven't seen this in a long time. I'm pretty sure it's pretty damn gory. I want to say it's maybe not as extreme as Cannibal Ferox. Definitely not as extreme as Cannibal Holocaust, but I mean nothing else really matches up to that movie. But honestly, I mean this could use a rewatch. I haven't seen this in a good while, and I've only ever seen it once. I just remember it being good Italian cannibal fun, but maybe a little subpar. And from 2005, I have Edmond, directed by the mighty Stuart Gordon. I'm a big Stuart Gordon fan. Now, I have not watched this yet. William H. Macy, Julia Stiles, remember her? Denise Richards. I like William H. Macy a lot. I've heard this is a pretty good movie. I just haven't seen it yet. I believe it's not a horror. From what I have heard, this is more of like a thriller, which is fine. I'm just a big Stuart Gordon fan, so in my quest to collect all the Stuart Gordon movies, I have acquired this one not too long ago, so maybe I'll watch it tonight. Haven't got around to it, but if I do watch it and I think it's pretty good, maybe I'll come back and maybe do a review, or I'll at least I'll come back and maybe talk a little more. But yeah, anything Stuart Gordon does, I need to have in my collection. From 2017, we have The Endless, from Aaron Moorhead and Justin Benson. This is kind of like heralded as a modern day classic by many people. I will say I've watched it once so far. I liked it. I don't know if I loved it, but I saw a lot of potential in it. Justin Benson and Aaron Moorhead, these two directors who also star in the movie, they are the main characters. Very promising directors. I will say that these guys are on my radar. I have been watching, everything I can from them. They don't have a lot yet. They did a movie called Spring, which was, I think, before this. I liked Spring. I actually like Spring more than this. They did a movie recently, too, I think within the last year or two, that I heard was pretty good. I think this could definitely benefit from more watches. This is a very ambitious movie. This is very much like a thinking person's, sci-fi horror, and I can really appreciate that. It's definitely a movie I think you have to watch more than once to really grasp. Then I have the mighty Eraserhead from 1977. I don't know what kind of weird version this is. DVD 2000. Who does that? I don't know if this is an unofficial release. It says 2005 Absurda, distributed through Subversive Cinema. I'm not sure. I'm not familiar with any of those companies. I had been wanting a copy of this, and I found it in a local store a couple years back. So, Eraserhead is, to say the least, a legendary movie. It's from 1977. This was David Lynch's first full-length movie. It took him a good while to complete. It was back when he didn't have much at his disposal. He didn't have a lot of money, didn't have a lot of resources. This was a huge project for him at the time. This movie, I will say, is one of the most disturbing movies I've ever seen in my entire life. And I've seen hundreds, maybe thousands of horror movies. It's not a slasher movie. It's not a gore movie. It's not a torture porn movie or anything like that. This is just a arty mindfuck of a movie. There's only been a small handful of movies that left me with the most empty, soulless, just despair-filled, the feelings that I got after I watched this movie. I pretty much watched it in the middle of the day, and I think I just went to my bedroom and I literally went to sleep. I went to bed at like 5 p.m. or something like that. That's how this movie made me feel. Fun fact about this also, back when they were filming The Shining, Stanley Kubrick actually made his cast watch this movie to get in the mood for kind of what he wanted The Shining to be. He wanted them to have a certain feeling, a certain something in mind for kind of what he was shooting for. Obviously, The Shining is not that similar to Eraserhead, but I think that says a lot about its impact on him. And yeah, what can I say? Jumping up to the year 1997, we have Event Horizon. Lawrence Fishburne, Sam Neill. This movie is a sci-fi horror space classic. I have always loved this movie. Oddly enough, it was directed by Paul W.S. Anderson, who's known for doing a bunch of movies that aren't that good. He's never reached the heights of this. In fact, I don't think he's ever directed another movie that I even liked. Whenever sci-fi horror is mentioned, this movie is always in the top 5. And I don't think it's overrated at all. I think this movie is, in its own way, a masterpiece. It's considered to be one of the most Lovecraftian movies. I've said before, it's not a term that I like, but I think there is a strong H.P. Lovecraft influence, whether it's direct or indirect, that just looms over this movie. If you haven't seen it, you like sci-fi, you like horror, you're totally missing out. This movie is just a creepy blast. 1981, we have from the mighty Sam Raimi, you guessed it, The Evil Dead. This is potentially my favorite horror movie of all time. I've always said it's kind of a tie between this and The Exorcist. This movie's timeless. I can watch it again and again and again, and I don't ever get tired of it. This movie is everything that horror is supposed to be. This is just horror perfection. Jumping up 6 years, we have Evil Dead 2. Now, I remember the first time I saw this, I was really fucking confused. I watched it, and I was just like, what the fuck did I just watch? It's not that I didn't like it. It's just that I didn't understand how it was almost the same movie as the first Evil Dead. Almost the exact same thing. So I was like, is it a sequel? Is it a prequel? And according to Bruce Campbell himself, this is a requel. This is basically a remake and a sequel kind of rolled into one. I don't remember why they said they made this movie. I can't remember if it was because Sam Raimi was maybe a little bit unsatisfied with how The Evil Dead turned out. I think it was just a combination of things. Now, this movie is definitely a classic, but in my opinion, I don't like it nearly as much as the first movie. And I don't really think it needed to exist. And I know that's going to rub some people the wrong way. A lot of people prefer this to the original. I don't. I think they should have just made a proper sequel and left the past in the past. I think The Evil Dead is perfect how it is. I know it's easy for me to say. It's not my piece of art. But I'll watch this from time to time, but I just don't watch it nearly as much as I watch the original Evil Dead. Jumping up 5 more years, we have The Army of Darkness from 1992. This is a sequel to The Evil Dead. Yeah, it's got some similarities. Of course, it's got Ash from The Evil Dead, but this is quite a different movie. This is a lot less horror and a lot more comedy. So it's kind of a horror comedy. You could say The Evil Dead's a horror comedy, but this amps up the comedy, amps down the horror a little bit. It's kind of a fantasy movie as well. It's not the gore fest that Evil Dead is, and I gotta say, when I first saw this, I was really, really disappointed. It just didn't have. I mean, that's kind of what I love about The Evil Dead. It's just so much fucking blood. It's so over the top. This movie's over the top, don't get me wrong, but it's just not a gore fest like The Evil Dead is. But that said, it's still timeless. It's still a classic. It's still endlessly rewatchable. And if you can accept it for what it is, it's an amazing movie in its own right. Now here's where we get some controversy going, and I don't care. I always say what I think. No matter what the consequences are. From 2013, I love the Evil Dead remake. Now, do I like it more than the original? Fuck no. I don't think there's any remake. Well, no, I take that back. There's one or two. There's very few remakes that I like more than the originals, but this is probably in my top 5 remakes. I think it's really, really good. It's fun to watch. It is just as over the top and gory as the original, but with a modern twist. I can appreciate this just for the gore alone. It's got some great practical effects. Yeah, there's some CGI, of course, but I think there's enough practical effects in here to for it to be a blast of a movie. And like I said, it's just so goddamn gory. This movie might have more blood than the original. That's hard to say. There's a scene in this where it literally rains down blood. I don't know. I love this movie, and I get it. It's a remake. A lot of people aren't going to accept a movie just because it's a remake. It doesn't have Bruce Campbell. I'll admit that it doesn't have any memorable characters, but it's really not about that. This isn't about individual characters. This is literally just about the blood and gore. And this movie is in that matter. This movie is intense. It is graphic. It's a gorehound's delight, I think. Last but not least, we have, and I thought I had more than just the first season, so I guess I need to go track down the other seasons or do a better job of looking, because I could have sworn I had at least the first 2, but we're talking about Ash versus Evil Dead from 2015. I can't remember if this was, I think it might have just been 2 seasons. It might have been 3. I can't remember, but there's at least 2. Apparently, I just have the first one for now. This show was fantastic. This had a lot to live up to. I doubted it from the very get-go. I told myself, of course I'm going to watch it, but it's not going to be good, and I could not have been more wrong. This show takes everything you liked from The Evil Dead and Army of Darkness, and it uses that to its advantage while not looking back too much and pressing forward. This show is just entertaining from beginning to end. I cannot praise this enough. It's been out for 7-8 years or whatever, and I still am just as excited about this as I was when it first came out. I could not, even after one episode, I could not believe how true it felt to the Evil Dead series. I have no complaints. If I were to complain about one thing, I would say maybe it is the use of CGI blood. I get it. It's easier just to throw some CGI blood in there. You don't have to clean anything up. But that's what makes the original Evil Dead movies fun. It's just the blood spraying everywhere, and all the blood in this movie, or at least most of it. There might be some practical effect blood, whatever they used to make it, corn syrup and food coloring or whatever. But a lot of the blood in this is just total CGI. And that's, like I said, that's a minor complaint because everything else is done so well. The Deadites look great. Bruce Campbell is the exact same Ash as he always was. even though he didn't really want to do this show, he said from the start, um, he has recently said, or he's been saying for years now, I'm not going to play Ash anymore. I'm too old. I don't want to do it anymore. It's just those days are in the past. You would never know that by watching this. You know, despite not really wanting to do it, he still gave it 100%, and it's great. Anyways, guys, that's all I got for today. Thanks for watching. Thanks for stopping by. Louis says hello. What do you think about the Evil Dead remake? And what do you think about Ash versus the Evil Dead? Obviously, I'm a big fan of both, so let's talk about those. And any of the others if you want. So anyways, we'll talk soon, guys. Cheers.